The Ionians were one of the four major tribes that the Greeks considered themselves divided into, during the ancient period, alongside Dorians, Aeolians and Achaeans. The Ionian dialect was one of the three major linguistic divisions of the Hellenic world, together with the Dorian and Aeolian dialects. When referring to populations, Ionian defines several groups in classical Greece. In the narrowest sense, it referred to the region of Ionia in Asia Minor. In a broader sense, it could be used to describe all speakers of the Ionic dialect, which in addition to those in Ionia proper also included the populations of Euboea, the Cyclades and many colonies founded by Ionian colonists. Finally, in the broadest sense, it could be used to describe all those who spoke languages of the East Greek group, which included Attic. The foundation myth, which was current in the classical period, suggested that the Ionians were named after Ion, son of Zeuthus, who lived in the North Peloponnesian region of Aegialos. When the Dorians invaded the Peloponnese and expelled the Achaeans from the Argolid and Lacedaemonia, the Achaeans moved into Aegialos and the Ionians were in turn expelled. The Ionians moved to Attica and mingled with the local population. Later, many people emigrated to the coast of Asia Minor, founding the historical region of Ionia. Unlike the austere and militaristic Dorians, the Ionians are renowned for their love of philosophy, art, democracy, and pleasure, Ionian traits that were most famously expressed by the Athenians. Name of the Ionians. Unlike Aeolians and Dorians, Ionians appears in the languages of different civilizations around the eastern Mediterranean and as far east as the Indian subcontinent. They are not the earliest Greeks to appear in the records. That distinction belongs to the Danants and the Achaeans. The trail of the Ionians begins in the Mycenaean Greek records of Crete. Mycenaean, a fragmentary Linear B tablet from Knossos, bears the name Iawoni, interpreted by Ventris and Chadwick as possibly the dative or nominative plural case of Iowans, an ethnic name. The Knossos tablets are dated to 1400 or 1200 BC, and thus predate the Dorian dominance in Crete, if the name refers to Cretans. The name first appears in Greek literature in Homer as Alpha Omicron Nu Epsilon Sigma, Iowans, used on a single occasion of some long-robed Greeks attacked by Hector and apparently identified with Athenians. And this Homeric form appears to be identical with the Mycenaean form but without the asterisk W. This name also appears in a fragment of the other early poet, Hesiod, in the singular Alpha Omega Nu, Iaon. Biblical in the Book of Genesis of the English Bible, Javan is a son of Japheth. Javan is believed nearly universally by Bible scholars to represent the Ionians, that is, Javan is Ion. The Hebrew is Yawan, plural Yuanim. Additionally, but less surely, Japheth may be related linguistically to the Greek mythological figure Ipetus. The locations of biblical tribal countries have been the subjects of centuries of scholarship and yet remain to various degrees open questions. The Book of Isaiah gives what may be a hint by listing the nations that have not heard my fame, including Javan, and immediately after, the isles afar off, and the isles in apposition to Javan or the last item in the series. If the former, the expression is typically used of the population of the islands in the Aegean Sea. The date of the Book of Isaiah cannot precede the date of the man Isaiah, which was the 8th century BC. Assyrian. Some letters of the Assyrian Empire in the 8th century BC record attacks by what appear to be Ionians on the cities of Phoenicia. For example, a raid by the Ionians on the Phoenician coast is reported to Tiglath-Pileser III in a letter of the 730s found at Nimrud. The Assyrian word, which is preceded by the country determinative, has been reconstructed as *Iunea. More common is Iowa Manu, Iowa Manu and Iowa Amnaa, with the country determinative reconstructed as Iamanu. Sargon II related that he took the latter from the sea like fish and that they were from the sea of the setting sun. If the identification of Assyrian names is correct, At least some of the Ionian marauders came from Cyprus. Sargon's Annals for 709, claiming that tribute was sent to him by 7 kings of Yar, a district of Yadnana whose distant abodes are situated a 7 days' journey in the Sea of the Setting Sun, is confirmed by a stela set up at Citium in Cyprus, at the base of a mountain ravine of Yadnana. Indic Ionians appear in Indic literature and documents as Yavana and Iona. In documents, these names refer to the Indo-Greek kingdoms, that is, the states formed by the Macedonians, either Alexander the Great, or his successors on the Indian subcontinent. The earliest such documentation is the Edicts of Ashoka, dated to 250 BC, within 10 or 20 years. Before then, the Yavanas appear in the Vedas with reference to the Vedic period, which could be as early as the 2nd millennium BC. The Vedas are to be distinguished from the much earlier Vedic period. In the Vedas, the Yavanas are a kingdom of Milchas, or barbarians, to the far west, out of the line of descent of Indic culture, in the same category as the Sarkas, or Scythians, and thus probably were already Greek. The Ionians of the Aegean are the identity customarily assigned to them. Iranian Ionians appear in a number of Old Persian inscriptions of the Achaemenid Empire as Iona, a nominative plural masculine, singular Iona. For example, an inscription of Darius on the south wall of the palace at Persepolis includes in the provinces of the empire, Ionians who are of the mainland and who are by the sea, and countries which are across the sea. At that time the empire probably extended around the Aegean to northern Greece. Other most modern Middle Eastern languages use the terms Ionia and Ionian to refer to Greece and Greeks. This is true of Hebrew, Armenian, while the classical Arabic words are used in most modern Arabic dialects including Egyptian and Palestinian, as well as being used in modern Persian, and Turkish too via Persian. Etymology. The etymology of the word omega nu epsilon sigma, alpha rho nu epsilon sigma is uncertain. Both Frisk and Beeks isolate an unknown root, *Iowa, pronounced *ya. There are, however, some theories. From an unknown early name of an eastern Mediterranean island population represented by Ha-Nebu, an ancient Egyptian name for the people living there. From ancient Egyptian, IWN, pillar, tree trunk, extended into IWNT, bow, and IWNTYW, bowman, archers. This derivation is analogous on the one hand to the possible derivation of Dorians and on the other fits the Egyptian concept of 9 bows with reference to the sea peoples. From a Proto-Indo-European onomatopoeic root *y or *woi, expressing a shout uttered by persons running to the assistance of others, according to Pokorny. *Ions would mean devotees of Apollo, based on the cry i.e. paean uttered in his worship. From a Proto-Indo-European root *qih, meaning power, Ionian language. In a landmark article of 1964, Vladimir Georgiev summarized the relationship of the 3 main historical dialects and gave an estimate of their chronology as follows. Prior to the 20th century BC, 3 dialects of Greek existed: Ionic, Iowolic and Doric. Ionic was spoken in Attica, Euboea, East Boeotia and the Peloponnesus. In the 16th century BC, a new coin was formed from Ionic and Iowolic, the Mycenaean Greek language. It persisted until about 1200, when it became the major source of Arcado-Cyprian, with some Doric influence. The Ionians, taking up the tradition of epic poetry, created Homeric Greek. Ionian descends from Ionic. Pre-Ionic Ionians. The literary evidence of the Ionians leads back to mainland Greece in Mycenaean times, before there was an Ionia. The classical sources seem determined that they were to be called Ionians along with other names even then. This cannot be documented with inscriptional evidence, and yet the literary evidence, which is manifestly at least partially legendary, seems to reflect a general verbal tradition. Herodotus of Halicarnassus asserts All are Ionians who are of Athenian descent and keep the feast Apaturia. He further explains, the whole Hellenic stock was then small, and the last of all its branches and the least regarded was the Ionian, for it had no considerable city except Athens. The Ionians spread from Athens to other places in the Aegean Sea, Sifnos and Seriphos, Naxos, Kia and Samos. But they were not just from Athens. These Ionians, as long as they were in the Peloponnesus, dwelt in what is now called Achaia, and before Danaus and Zeuthus came to the Peloponnesus, as the Greeks say, they were called Aegialian Pelasgians. They were named Ionians after Ion the son of Zeuthus. Achaia was divided into 12 communities originally Ionian: Pellene, Agira, Aegae, Aura, Helioce, Aegean, Reep, Patri, Pharia, Olinus, Dyme and Tritia. The most aboriginal Ionians were of Sinuria. The Sinurians are aboriginal and seem to be the only Ionians, but they have been Dorianized by time and by Argive rule. Strabo, in Strabo's account of the origin of the Ionians, Hellen, son of Deucalion, ancestor of the Hellenes, king of Thea, arranged a marriage between his son Zeuthus and the daughter of King Erechteus of Athens. Zeuthus then founded the Tetrapolis of Attica, a rural district. His son, Achaeus, went into exile in a land subsequently called Achaia after him. Another son of Zeuthus, Ion, conquered Thrace, after which the Athenians made him king of Athens. Attica was called Ionia after his death. Those Ionians colonized Aegialia, changing its name to Ionia also. When the Heracleidae returned, the Achaeans drove the Ionians back to Athens. Under the Codridae they set forth for Anatolia and founded 12 cities in Caria and Lydia, following the model of the 12 cities of Achaia, formerly Ionian. Classical Ionia. During the 6th century BC, Ionian coastal towns, such as Miletus and Ephesus, became the focus of a revolution in traditional thinking about nature. Instead of explaining natural phenomena by recourse to traditional religion, myth, the cultural climate was such that men began to form hypotheses about the natural world based on ideas gained from both personal experience and deep reflection. These men, Thales and his successors, were called physiologois, those who discoursed on nature. They were skeptical of religious explanations for natural phenomena and instead sought purely mechanical and physical explanations. They are credited as being of critical importance to the development of the scientific attitude towards the study of nature.